Hello! In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to start using a remote repo if you already have a local repo. We'll cover it using Bitbucket. I've already created a local repo with a few commits in it. Let me show you. Git log, and let's open a file manager and see that we have two files in our repo. The next step is to create a repository on Bitbucket. To do that, you'll need to log in with your credentials and create a repo through web interface. Just click Create a repository. You'll need to provide a repository name, Project 1. We'll leave the description empty. As you can see, private repos are free on Bitbucket, and that option is enabled by default. Don't worry about forking. I'll explain what it is in one of the next lessons. As I told you before, Bitbucket allows you to use Mercurial as well, but we'll be sticking with Git. There are basic project management tools available: issue tracking and wiki. We don't need them for our example, but feel free to try them out. They're free and quite handy. We're not going to specify a language for our example, and we're not using HipChat, so we won't be needing that integration. Press Create Repository. That's it. Our repository has been created. As you can see, there are instructions how to set up a remote repo if you're starting from scratch, or if you have an existing project. We'll be needing the second one. So basically, we'll just need to run these commands in the terminal, and we'll be good to go. As you can see, there is one new command: git remote add. What it does is that it links your local repo to the remote repo. The origin parameter is a nickname or alias for this remote repo. It's just a default thing to name a remote repo origin, but this alias can be anything you want. Also, it's possible to connect your local repo to multiple remote repos. You'll just need to give them different aliases. I'll cover that in one of the next lessons. And one more thing. You have probably noticed that in the previous lesson, we haven't used git remote add command to connect to GitHub. Git does that automatically when you run git clone. Let's go to the terminal and run all of these commands. I'm just going to check if I'm already in my local repo. ls. Yep, we are already in our local repo folder. Back to the browser. So we're going to skip the first command. We copy git remote add and paste it in the terminal. Done. Now we're going to copy the command which pushes all your local changes to the remote repo. It has a few parameters. Origin specifies the remote repo you want to push changes to. In our case, we'll be pushing to our repo on Bitbucket. I'll explain the meaning of flags u and all in the lesson about Git branches. All you need to know at this stage is that this command pushes everything that you have in your local repo to the remote one with the nickname of origin. So copy that and paste it in the terminal. Enter. When you run it for the first time, Bitbucket will ask you for your credentials, just like GitHub did in the previous lesson. It didn't ask me, only because my credentials are already stored in my keychain. Now there is one command left, but we won't be running it because we're not using any tags at the moment. Tags are basically markers for your commits. For example, release 1.0, release 2.0, and so on. At this point, all our commits are already on Bitbucket, and our local repo is linked to it. So let's check that we have all our local commits in a Bitbucket repo. Click Overview. You can see our recent commits on the right, and you can also go to Commits page, and you'll see the whole history of your commits. Now you can run git pull and git push in your local repo to sync the changes with the remote repo, just like we did with GitHub in the previous lesson. That should be enough about remote repos to get you started. Now you're ready for one of the most exciting and important features of Git, branches. We're going to cover it in the next lesson. See you then.